Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Kenya yetu tunayoipenda. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Haki kwa watu wote. Wenzangu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Mimi ni mwana Kenya daima.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We can take our seats. Our Cabinet Secretary, Madam Cicely Kariuki, who is our chief guest today, and the Minister for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, our CAS in the Ministry of Gender, Madam Chabi Kilimo, all protocols observed. Mine will be very brief, just to say what our county has done as far as WASPA is concerned, and also invite all of us to this great county. And I'm doing this on behalf of His Excellency the Governor, Governor Lee Kinyanjui, who is held up somewhere else and he couldn't make it to be here today, and has requested that I step in and actually read this speech. But before I read the speech, I would just want to say the challenge Madam Chebi Kilimo has noted along our highway, we've also seen is a major challenge for us. Because people traveling from Western Kenya, they always make stops along between Nakuru and Naivasha. I don't know why they don't do it before then. But they always wait, they come when they are closer here, that's when they actually made some stopovers. So what we've agreed and what the governor has given us permission to is actually to establish some centers where people can rest along that particular stretch. One of the stretches up here near Karai, where we'll be putting up a fish market. Inside the fish market, as you go and get some fish, you can also do your other business in that particular space within a very humble environment. We're looking for another space between Gilgil and Nakuru, where we can also have such a facility where the wananchi can actually drive in and do whatever is necessary for their bodies, and then they can proceed on with their journey. Because we've come up with a legislation which is very strict for those who will actually be messing around our stretch of the road. So we need to provide an alternative so that we don't actually become punitive, but help the communities that traverse this county from Western Kenya to Nairobi and beyond. So we will take care of that, Madam Jabe Kilimo, and it's actually within our plans. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you once again to Nakuru County and WASPA Youth and Women Water and Sanitation Conference 2021. On behalf of His Excellency the Governor and the County Government of Nakuru, I wish to convey our profound gratitude to the organizers of this notable forum, the national government through the Ministry of Water and Sanitation and Irrigation, WASPA and WIWAS. Ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely delighted to be present today to honor our commitment as a county on mainstreaming youth and women in WASH activities by hosting the gala dinner. This dinner aims at providing an opportunity to recognize innovative youth and women who participate in Vijana and Dada Water and Sanitation Innovation Awards. We should also embrace innovation such as Macar.com and Sanitation that turns viscose sludge into briquettes for cooking. Even as we honor these great champions in water and sanitation, let us look back and reflect on the pre-conference deliberations which aimed at enabling the stakeholders share good practices, deliberate on prevailing challenges, and formulate strategies to leverage youth and women potential in order to accelerate the realization of universal access to potable water and safely managed sanitation services in preparation for this main conference. It is crucial that we deliberate on the governance of water, establish mechanisms of monitoring our water footprint, an indicator that looks at both the direct and indirect water use of an individual, business, community, city, county, and country. Ladies and gentlemen, with the realization of the need for clean and safe water for all, the Constitution of Kenya mandates county governments with the function of delivery of water and sanitation under the 4th schedule, pursuant of Article 185(2), 186(1), and 187(2). The National Water Policy of 2012 outlines the various roles of the county government in water supply and sanitation services provision, which include 1, ensuring access to water and sanitation according to the constitutional rights. 2, ensuring and coordinating the participation of communities in governance, among others. It is in this line that the above roles that our focus lies on strengthening the women and youth on water and sanitation, especially during this period. When we are facing a pandemic and strive towards the post-COVID-19 recovery mechanism, noting that the water and sanitation sector plays a key role in mitigating the pandemic. I'm pleased to inform you that Nakuru County has already developed the Nakuru County-wide Inclusive Sanitation Strategy 2019 and is in the implementation status. Furthermore, Nakuru County has enacted the Nakuru County Water and Sanitation Act 2021, which has helped in mainstreaming good corporate governance in our 3 water utilities, WASCO, NARUWASCO, and WIWAS. We shall realize that the target audience for this conference was deliberate in order to come up with better solutions in managing our water resources for both the direct and indirect use. Our hope is that the youth shall offer solutions in the water and sanitation sector through innovations, especially in the field of technology for sustainability, and more women will embrace this role in water management, sustainable use of our water resources, and abolishment of water and sanitation linked to sexual exploitation and violence. I also wish to inform you that His Excellency, the Governor, is already institutionalizing inclusion of youth and women in water sanitation in an attempt to accelerate realization of SDG 6, Constitution of 2010, Vision 2030, and the Nakuru CIDB as commitment in his remarks during the pre-conference held on 21st of May 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to fruitful deliberations. Thank you so much. God bless you. Now, with all humility, allow me to invite the Cabinet Secretary, Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation to come and make her remarks and actually officially open this particular forum.
Thank you very much, DG, for your kind words and invitation to address the audience. I wish to recognize the presence of my sister and your very kind compliment, as I do the chairman, WASPA, the CEO, the organizers, my colleagues, the CEOs who are present here today, the CCs, led by your chair, the private actors, partners, the civil society, for being present with us this afternoon. To you, the DG, and onward to the governor, our great appreciation for the partnership that you have continued to enjoy between the ministry, actors, and the county that you represent. It has made perhaps you scoop the 6 trophies Dr. Ngeno spoke about, and we do not take it for granted. Participants, ladies and gentlemen, I have a structured speech, but in the interest of what the DG just noted, it would be very unfair for me to go through a structured speech. Allow me, therefore, to say it is fine. I had a speech. There is a way I was supposed to frame my thinking, but it will confine me to responding to some of the issues that the panelists raised and the issues that the people who spoke ahead of me also raised, including the youth and the lady representative who was present here today. So allow me to be a bit free-spirited and pose my reflections as I sat and listened to you as follows. 1, the conversation of why women are important and will continue to be important in the water, sanitation, and indeed irrigation space in this country goes without much debate. At a population of over 50% of the total population, the numbers speak for themselves. With a youthful population of close to 70% again, the 2 sets of our population are well worth getting very specific, very deliberate attention from us, the policymakers, but from you, the implementers. Number 2, why women? Alluded to by the presenters who are here ahead of me, women shoulder the largest burden associated with either scarcity of water or lack of water. Burden in respect of disease and death, in respect of social impacts, in respect of economic negative impact, in respect of education and therefore future opportunities. Women continue to suffer, and it's been demonstrated here, from exclusion. Exclusion, be it in management, be it in job opportunities, even at the lowest levels, be it in decision-making and where strategies are crafted. And importantly, I want to speak to the question of exclusion of women in the space of governance. Space of governance is where resources are shared. The space of governance is where we abuse resources. We call it, in a more civilized society, corruption. I look at studies that have been done, and I think the CEO here, you're speaking to a few of them. I choose not to go to the statistics. There's no doubt the import of positive and good corporate governance where women come or are involved, not just because of diversity, but because research that has been conducted globally does confirm that corporations that are headed by women outperform the national average in terms of profitability by up to 21%. I didn't say that, Cicely. I'm only a woman. That is research that is well documented, and therefore excluding women from the space of governance should concern all of us here present today. Again, why women? They are most vulnerable. Vulnerable because if you go to areas of scarcity, conflict, war, anything that happens that is water-related in form of a disaster, be it flooding, drought, the now perpetual climate change impact, women are most vulnerable, and therefore. I conclude this section by observing that if water and sanitation services are delivered well, it is a powerful tool of empowering women, but also our youth, both socially, economically, and dare I say, even politically. If delivered poorly, water and sanitation services will undermine women, entire communities, and families. Let me not make any further case for women and their involvement in this very important sector. And I think we are all here because we do believe there is a role of women and youth. Indeed, I want to also take a reflection and note that the gap in terms of where we're coming from and where we are headed has been narrowing. Dr. Sumba, you spoke to some very important statistics. You spoke about one CEO. How I wish you said there was no CEO when I came to the ministry. Like Dr. Ngeno, I'll actually say I have 2 acting CEOs now heading the parastatals. We have remained to have 1 lady chair out of the 16 institutions that I'm responsible for. 1 is minor, but 1 who has suffered humiliation by being thrown in court for the period that I appointed her to the trust fund. That is what we go through. Yes, because she was not qualified according to them to replace a man. Thank God, only 2 weeks ago, we won the case. She's back in office as a chair. This is Dr. Kimolo. The 2 young ladies, the CEOs who I speak about, so that Dr. Sumba, you correct your statistics, are not finding it easy. You spoke about biases, and you spoke about GBV. It can be physical, it can be non-physical. I think that I have a record of the outstanding court cases that my cabinet colleagues can speak about in the life that have been the CS. Why? Because perhaps it belonged to somebody else. And I'm not even complaining. Now, when it comes to interns, again, as I went around visiting your counties and projects, it was very clear to me, despite of having only 7% of the total population of engineers that are registered are women, very few of them found their space into your companies. And I got curious. And you know, Chabi, you relate with me because I get curious because of my lenses that are very gender sensitive and very youth sensitive because of my past. And as you spoke here, I thought I could do it. And I did make demands, and I'm almost sounding now like a broken record because every project I visit, I'm interested in 2 things. At the community level, what is the makeup of the committee that is leading a project? And I have made demands because often, almost 99% of the time, the women representation is lower than 30% or missing altogether. The youth representation at the community level is negligible, and therefore I've made it my business. I don't even need notes to keep reminding the leadership. My minimum demand is for us to go back to the Constitution and allow for the 2/3 gender rule at that space, because it is not rocket science. We don't need to go to Parliament with a kind of 2/3 gender rule that has been frustrated 3 times now. This is a decision at the community that we make, and to begin to enjoy the fruits of diversity and inclusivity. So in my going round in the last couple of months, I have seen improvement, and indeed, the CEOs will even point it before. They will tell me, you know, here. They introduce them. Half the time, they may not introduce them by standing, so I don't know. They tell me the committee is sitting somewhere there. So I say, stand up, let's see the committee. 2 ladies out of maybe 30. But they are quick to also tell me, we will rectify. Now, I have also made it my business to make a demand, and some of you are responding very well, that I need the young people, the qualified persons, incorporated in any project that we are starting or which is ongoing and still has space for expansion. I was quite excited last Thursday when I visited one of the big projects called Karimenu Dam. Is in Muranga, must be, is in Muranga. And the previous time I went, 6 months, 8 months ago, I didn't find no lady engineering. And I questioned the CEO and the contractor, and I said, is it that we don't have qualified, competent ladies who can also be part of this? And I was quite impressed, I must say. Thursday, I found 15 young ladies, engineers on this project. I had a chat with them, and I told them it's not going to be easy, and it is never meant to be easy for women. And so you got to prove yourself to keep this job. I have heard, as I was trying to interrogate why we don't have these young, talented, energetic, but qualified women in projects. And I was told quietly, shh, don't say it when you meet the private sector. The private sector is here, so I'll say it. That because the life cycle of an engineering lady from college to maybe the first entry into a formal job, into a promotion, she'll also socially be promoting herself and going into the way of family and getting children. And the minute she looks like she's getting a bump, that is when, and I was told don't say it loudly, but I have to say it. Because we have some of the employers here. Ambugo? Right? Private sector. If these girls didn't do that, you would not be here. I'm saying the same to my colleague, the CEOs, whether in the public, whether in the water service provision. If you don't give these, our young people, a chance to do that and have a bump for 9 months, you won't be here. So give them a chance and be happy when they tell you, I want to be on leave for 3 months and 6 months to be able to take care of my child. I will be back more determined, more committed to serve you and to serve this society. You must be deliberate about it. And it is for this reason, therefore, Sumba, I am becoming your member number today. And I am recruiting a champion of women, and that is Honorable Chebi. I thank you, Chebi. When I came into the ministry 14 months ago, again, I was coming from an extremely male-dominated sector called health. And when I went to take over from my predecessor in health, in February the year 2018, I had out of 16 directors, 1 lady sitting with me, and it was cold. When I came to this sector, effectively on the 14th of January, taking over 2 months later, I was introduced to what is called the Big 5. Is it? The Big 6. Ketel? It's the big what? Not the animals. The 6? The Big 6. Again, I was alone, and it was cold. So I did challenge my colleagues who were already ahead of me in the ministry, and I said it was important that we are deliberate about fishing any of the senior ladies within the ministry and in the parastatals. And therefore, I ended up with 1 director, Engineer Amaida, sitting around me in the ministry as the only other lady. It began to feel almost well. But the statistic, colleagues, is foundational on the fact that even we don't have sufficient of these women. 7% of them isn't sufficient to be able to be on maternity leave, to be able to be in the private sector, to be able to be in the public sector, to be able to go back to school, to be able to go to projects. So even as we address the issues you're addressing here today, we must go to not the symptoms, but the foundational factors that have gotten us where we are. I had, again, Dr. Sumba, and I agree with you. You speak about issues of GBV. I must say, I'm also learning. I'm glad I came. I didn't know that cases of sexual harassment are in the range that you spoke about. We should take an interest. Honorable Chebi, I don't think you came here by mistake. That is your space. That is your space. But join me, colleagues and male present here today, in saying again, we are going to stand with His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's committed before man and God that by the time he leaves office, the issues of GBV will be fixed. And I know that there is a strategy that he launched. He's committed to that. And so you, from where you sit in your small space, make a commitment. Make a serious commitment. I won't say who, but the other day I sat with one of my colleagues and they say, look, I'm almost being sacked because I said no. I said, say no twice and get on top of a tree. That is what it must be. Yeah? But if you really must have that lady, ujipange kwa kiplani, si kuambia mtu ujipange. Uzungumza vizuri. Yeah. If they like, they'll come along. But issues of sexual harassment, sawa. Now, and you know the youth, we have, how many do we have here? We have young girls sitting here, young ladies sitting here.
There are more than, 200.
Don't let nobody lie to you that you get your way up because you gave in into sexual harassment or advances that are not welcome. Hello? You will find your way anyway, and you won't find your way through your body. You will find your way through your brain and hard work. So don't let them harass you. But let me come back to the stereotyping. DG, I think you are the only person who knows I am not sir, and I thank you. Even my own colleagues, Madam Sir, that is my title. You see, this is what very male-dominated spaces and sectors, you know, it's in the brain. My dear here will tell you, my secretary admin will tell you, every time you do a tongue twister and you tell me, Madam Sir, and if you're a gentleman, because of the time you are, I'll also call you Madam. Then we are draws, isn't it? Because then that speaks actually to you and your emotions. Because I am not complaining. I can be sad. It's not a problem. But it is something which is so foundational in you. And mark my words, it's not always the male gender. It is actually also the women who will refer to me as sir because I am sitting in a very sir space. This is how we've been wired. So we got to be a bit deliberate if we have to get out of that space and stop viewing them because of reasons, you know, and I don't want to go there. If I was in gender, then I would have gone a little bit deeper into that. But allow me to note that I take note of that concern, and I think we need to come up with proper interventions that are monitorable, working with my sister here, so that we can also speak truth to the question of gender-based violence in the sector. Allow me to say as follows, as I make further observations, and I'm trying to respond as much as possible to what I've picked from you. What is therefore needed for us to be a more inclusive country, leadership, bringing on women and youth into the water sanitation and indeed irrigation space? A few reflections, and a lot of them you have alluded to. But let me just pull out two or three. One is the political will and commitment. Chebi would have shared with you to say there is sufficient of that in Kenya today. That is why we have the GBV strategy. That is why we have under the Katiba, the 2/3 gender rule. That is why we have deliberate investment that have been shared with us. That's why we have deliberate the access to government procurement opportunities, both targeting these two sectors. As to whether we are doing well, that's why we are here, because we want to measure that. We want to say, what more can we do? This week only, again, I was quite excited meeting two ladies just past their youth and are doing some serious business under ACBO in water and sanitation. And you know, Honorable Chabi, I do not disagree with you many times, but today I did like the others of my speech. Women will not play in the space of maji, kwa ndoo, kupeleka, kwa shamba ya kitchen garden, and stop there. Women will be major contractors in this sector. But you know, again, I am quick. I hasten to know that it will not happen because we sit in Naivasha for 2 or 3 days. It will happen, dear colleagues, women and youth present here, knowing that power is never given. Ni kweli? Kwa hivyo maongeo ni sawasawa, but we must also take the first step of faith. And in listening to Jeremy, I am hopeful. Listening to Sumba and the network that you spoke to me about last year, I am very hopeful, like you are. But we can't eat hope. We must then move. And that's why I'm challenging you in the coming 2-3 days, be deliberate and practical in answering the question, then what? The political will is there, but then what? Why are we not still seeing enough women? The statistics that I get in the ministry, and I'm very personal about it, my colleague will tell you this. How did you perform in your AGPO? And colleagues who are here will know it. I'll deliberate call the CEO if your AGPO and what you've granted in that sector is below the threshold that Chebi's ministry is monitoring. Even before it comes to you, I will have dealt by wanting to know what is it that you are doing or not doing right, and how are you going to correct the space. I must say I'm getting support here, because then they know I will be asking. Now, in terms of the ministry or the sectoral space, I'm again very happy to make an observation that to drive and give life to this broad political goodwill and commitment led by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, we have before Parliament today the sessional paper number 1 on water and sanitation that is going to have deeper focus on matters gender and matters youth. I thank you because you participated. You still have one more chance to look at that, which was a national water policy converted now into a sessional paper number 1 of water that is going to help us in the coming 10 years. You still have a chance. But I must also appreciate what I saw coming out from yourselves in terms of contribution into sharpening the focus around matters women and matters youth in that policy. Number 2, my submission is enabling frameworks, not only at the macro level, but also the micro level. And that is why I appreciate you, DG, and the County of Nakuru, because you have translated a lot of the national level interventions, policies, and those frameworks to be able to come with the kind of example and the interventions that you are implementing in this county. So enabling policies at all levels. Anytime you speak about policies, you look at the public. Colleagues, I think the private sector present here today, the service providers present here today, the framework is about all of us. And therefore, if each one of you at the corporate level can be able to borrow the broad principles and have them as part and parcel of your policies at the company level, it would count for much. And I want to urge you that that becomes part of what you could take out from here. Number 3, not in any order of priority, the matter of training, capacity building, mentorship, coaching is as important as the political will or the interventions that are being implemented. It is required, and it is in short supply. I was just wondering, Chairman, as you spoke here, at least there was a lady today, so I'll not complain. There was one. There was one before my sister. There was a lady on the panel. I've been to places where the panel is just male-dominated, so I'm not complaining much today. But only it's because you knew what was the title. And I was just wondering, because most of you are men, we respect you greatly. What if each one of you decided you're going to mentor either a youth or a woman? I have been mentored by male. So mentorship is not gender aligned, or is it? So what if you actually got out of here at your own personal space and decided, you know what, I don't even need to belong to the association of Sumba. I don't even need to belong to the association of Jeremy. But actually, in the coming, X amount of time, I could reach out and try and mentor 5. You'll begin to make a difference, and you'll begin to live more purposefully in terms of the spirit of this conference. How I wish you can take that out. Now, in terms of where we may go, let me suggest the following. It would be a waste of time, energy, effort, and all the work that the organizers have put into this conference if we didn't interrogate the following. I'm going to offer only 4. 1, how do we deepen the empowerment programs for women and for youth? How can we? They are there, they exist. How can we deepen and be able to domesticate them to the sector? We have one bank represented here, Family Bank. We appreciate you. How can you be able to create a product that targets the women and youth in this sector, in addition to what Chebi said, and be deliberate about marketing it? If it exists, how can you market it better? Number 2, I'm offering to you, the participants, to identify the entry points along the value chain where opportunities exist. And as you do, then make them practical, away from theory. I can confirm here today that the sector, and I'm talking about only infrastructure sector that is under the ministry, today, the ongoing projects number over 650, and these are big, small, not small, medium to large. And in there is 600 billion circulating. What if, practically, 30% of that was actually to move to women and youth? Would close this conference, isn't it? Twende nyumbani. Yeah. But you see, even Chebi, as we say, we have AGPO. What happens is that Jeremy and the lady speaking there have no capacity to access these opportunities, and they will come and look for me. So I access it for them. And as I was sitting there, I had some youth, writing to me and saying, look, we have given this service, how do we survive? Another one has written, as I was sitting there again, and they say, look, we worked in Company X, project was involved in major corruption, we were sent home for 2 years of hard work, we have not been paid. How do you want these youth to proceed after that? So the sins of corruption come back to bite innocent people. If you come through me, Jeremy, so that I can be able to either give you money or to be able to secure a contract with my friend here, chances are when you're paid, because it was my money, it was my sweat, you will get very meager resources from that. Si ni kweli? Ama tuseme urongo hapa, then we go home. So find out, how can we make that work genuinely and reach out and, make AGPO and those opportunities be of service to us. There are several points. I refuse to tie women, and even the youth, to what we knew our grandmothers were doing. I saw my friends were telling me to come and tell you, women, confine yourselves to boreholes and household pans. No. We must stretch our imagination. Right? Get into the techie space, which Jeremy spoke about. Get into the innovative spaces. I like the lady who asked that question. Offer your product. Offer it to the market. The market is the one I'm pleading with. Be receptive. Now, number 3, my offer is that we want to be able to frame practical solutions to the challenges that you'll be discussing. Oftentimes, when I've been to workshops and conferences like this one, we spend 2/3 of the time reading from the book of Lamentations. And we complain. And we complain. And we complain. We do not remember there is a book of hope called Revelations, where the future belongs. So let's not spend too much time dissecting the problems, because they are known. We just don't have women and youth participating in any of the points in sufficient quantity, and therefore they are not influencing the policy discourse, but also the interventions and service delivery, but important, the sustainability of the sector. So read, that book is okay, it's in the Bible, but move forward. Finally, I would want for each and every one of you, including me, to be able to take this forum as a call to action at our micro level, but also as our collective level. In my view, if that happens, then the 3 days would be completely worth your while, time, effort, resources, and energy. Our CEO, you will be certain that I will very keenly be following what comes out of this conference, even as I take this opportunity to congratulate you, the Secretariat, the Chairman, all the actors, the county, my own team, for actually giving us a chance to come and interrogate ourselves and answer the question whether the way we are wired for the future. Which answer? I know we are not wired for the future. We must have women, we must have the youth involved in the conversations going forward. I'll come back and perhaps respond to 1 or 2, 3 issues that were raised very directly. Dr. Ngeno, you spoke about the liquidity grant. I appreciate your compliment. 2 billion is already out with 37 of you. There is 900 million, which is going through processing as soon as we move to the next financial year starting tomorrow, which is going to go to another 20. I must confess we've started experiencing challenges. So if that is the only other thing you'll take to your colleagues, we will stop. We already are going against the covenants that we agreed into, courtesy of, again, poor governance. Poor governance. So that if the resources by way of grant are coming to you and they are conditioned to some certain actions, let us be disciplined to also follow through the conditions and meet them. Because then we do not serve Kenyans the way they deserve to be served. But yes, the resources will be coming your way, as it were. The other issue which was raised by Chebi, and DG responded to it very quickly in respect of Nakuru, and the intervention you'll be taking is appreciated, is acknowledged. But let me also confirm that at national level now, we have a policy that any major highway being constructed must be accompanied by utilities, including wash facilities. And that is basic standard that my colleague C.S. Macharia has to enforce as we move forward. And so again, mukiona hao, waambie hivyo pia in those counties. Dr. Sumba, you spoke a lot about the issue of mentorship, the issue of leadership and exposure. The public space is confined because of the requirement of doing a lot of what we do, including the interns under the Public Service Commission across the board. WSPs, you are not as confined. The private sector, you are not confined. WWDAs, you are not even confined. I know that we have a target as a government, as a ministry, for a certain X amount of interns that we must take every year. And that goes on to the performance contracting. I would want that threshold stretched. Essay, so that we can have more. I would want this stretched. Or maybe it didn't sound right. I direct that is stretched. And that carries more. I was being polite. And that is for the CEOs present here, but also at the ministry, so that you can be able to expose more and more of the young people to the experiential learning in the workspace, as it were. At the community level, so that again it becomes enforced, I want us to be able